That is a pretty good looking rig though. I don't know, it's a bit controversial. Some people hate it, some people love it. Alrighty, good morning guys. Today is Friday the something. Friday the 10th of July. And we are going spraying today. So finished up spraying all the lentils yesterday, or the day before actually, and cleaned out yesterday. And now we're going to go back into spraying cereals. So there's about a block and a half, so 380 hectares, 400 hectares to go over and do. And then pretty well finished spraying for the moment, which will be good. And then just focusing on getting the rolling done. So yeah, we'll get a bit of fresh water put in this thing and give it one more flush. So I'm gonna put, I'll just put 350 in. That's all we gotta do. Hit play on that. That'll start sucking our water in. Turn that one on, and that's our nozzles in the tank to rinse it all out, flush the walls down. So I'll just let that go for a minute or two. I've already flushed all the PWM out in the boom nozzles themselves, so let me do it. Turn the pump off, park brake off, ladder up, come up like that, go backwards, back up from where I'm been filling out of, because it's only fresh water. I'll just dump it here, it won't matter too much. Drain, play, and I don't know if you can see it in the mirror there, but that'll open the valve at the back and dump it all out. So you can see in the mirror that water's pretty well crystal clear. Just a little bit of foam and that from the boom clean, which is exactly what you want. So we will be right to start on cereals now. Always like to double, triple check that, just because been spraying lentils for grasses going into a cereal crop. You can do a little bit of damage spraying a grass spray onto a grass or a cereal crop. So don't hurt, only takes 5 minutes just to double check it, and you know you're good to go. So I've just got my ag world up here with me brew for the cereals, and then basically, yeah, I just go off, put my tank size in, litres a hectare, and that gives me my brew, and then all my litres per tank. And then once I know that, I just write it on the drum, which I'll see, zoom in there, but write it on the container of what it is and what number it is that it goes in, so you can't stuff it up. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Alrighty, let's go look at this wheat. That's not ideal. A bit wet yet. It's fine, we've got a bit of sunshine out, so it should dry up, but it is looking absolutely fantastic out here. That is looking pretty good. Very good, actually. We'll give it another hour or two, I suppose, and come back out. And actually, I might go to the other paddock. It's a little bit behind this one, so should be a little bit drier. And we'll do this one, this arvo, once it dries off a bit. At least the gates are open now. It's only 2 or 3 k's that way, so we'll go and see how it looks there and see if we can get going or go home for lunch and come back, try again a bit later. That is a pretty good looking rig though. I don't know, it's a bit controversial. Some people hate it, some people love it. I think it's not too bad. Alright, so I just got to the second paddock, which it is a bit wet too, but as you can see, this is not quite advanced as the other paddock. This was a little bit later sown. But I'm actually going to go home and have some lunch for an hour, I think, and come back because she's still a bit wet. So I finally got going here, got started about 2 o'clock, and just got the paddock all opened up. So I got my headland boundary laps done, and now we're just on the long runs, which machine's going good. Got about, I don't know, 3,000 litres left on this tank. Try and get another one out today. So yeah, we're just doing basically a tidy up of what got through the preem, and then we're also hitting it with a fungicide as well, just because starting to get a little bit disease pressure with the wet sort of start to the year we've had and the weather. Try and hold off some disease. You can see where we had a couple of block runs with the air seeder, but don't mind that. The last 2 weeks have just been horrible for getting any spraying done. We've had fog, rain, frosts, so just been getting only a little bit done here and there really. Haven't had some good days like this to get anything done. But yeah, luckily we're on the home stretch now, so yeah, try and knock the rest of this over and get her all washed up before the rain this weekend. They're talking anywhere from 5 to 10 mil of rain tonight, so it'll be good to get this out of the way before that. Otherwise you might get a bit sticky over the next couple of days. So I think I've probably got enough seat time now to give you my honest review on it. There you go, 166 engine hours. So I'm gonna do I wouldn't say it's first impressions, but I wouldn't say it's final impressions because I haven't had it long enough to give you a honest review on longevity, but I'll give you a initial 150 hour / 160 hour of operating impressions, opinions, likes, dislikes so far. So I think that'll probably be the best way to sort of categorize what we're doing. So I'll probably break it up into a few different categories. We've got daily maintenance / operation, comfort, and then we'll break it down into your main spraying categories. So we've got filling, folding, spraying, and clean out / decontamination. I think that'll sort of give you the best well-rounded idea on what I think of the sprayer in those individual areas, and then at the end of the video I'll give you a bit of an overall rating on what I think. So the first category is going to be daily maintenance / operation, and it's all on automatic greaser. So down there you got your grease button, and from what my understanding is, every time you turn it on, it goes to a grease cycle and it greases everything out to the first wing pivot. And then from there on, so you can see from there and there are the only grease circs you got to do yourself, which is fantastic. I'm a big fan of that. It's so easy, so simple, and I think you just grease it every 50 hours or every time you wash it basically, so couldn't get much easier than that for greasing. And then I guess you roll into filling with fuel. That's pretty good. Beside the ladder there you've got your filler neck. It sort of works in a funny way. It goes from a sub tank and it has its own transfer pump that bilges up into the main tank, which is, I think, 750 litres of storage or capacity, so it's a pretty good sized fuel tank. Probably my only dislike with that setup is sometimes you can't fill it full noise because the transfer pump can't keep up to obviously a petrol Honda pump or diesel pump. Probably another disadvantage to that is you got to have the motor running while you fill it, or at least the accessories on for that transfer pump to work. So that's a bit of a pain, but again, it's not a deal breaker. But I do like the filler location. It's super easy to get to. It's on your way into the cab. I know some other SPs you got to have a separate ladder and it's, you know, way up out of the way, where this is just pretty straightforward. So that's a positive. I do like that. And then checking things like your fluids, super simple, super easy. Engine oil's easy to get to. It's all accessible from ground level, which I love. You can check it every day, easy as. You don't have to take any covers off or muck around to get to it, so that's a bonus. That's probably nearly it for daily maintenance of operation. There is a few air tanks that you got to drain the air out of, or the water out of every so often. That's just because this machine's got a fairly busy sort of air system on it with the brakes. And then also, I think all the height radar sensors are on pneumatic arms too, so that all works off a compressor system with air tanks, but not a big deal. Pretty easy to deal with. Going into our second category, we got comfort. Coming out of a tractor and a tug-along boom to a SP is just fantastic. It's so smooth in the paddock. You just feel like you're riding on a cloud. This thing's got airbag suspension, and then you got cab suspension, and then you got seat suspension as well. Comfort inside the cab's really good. It's spacious, there's heaps of room. You know, you can only just reach the door. You're not crammed in, and everything's just at your fingertips. You don't have to really go out of your way to get to anything, which I love. It's all within arm's reach, and yeah, there's nothing really from a comfort perspective I'd change. Probably one thing maybe in the cab is that door, because it's a sealed cab, can be a bit hard to open sometimes, just with the way the cab seals so well. The door needs a pretty good yank to shut it, but not a deal breaker. I think though if they added something like on the X9 where it just crimps itself shut like a soft close system, that'd be really good. But also I guess that's a double-edged sword, because that's just something else to go wrong. I have had it play up a few times on the header, so you know, take that as you will. What else for comfort? Seats heated, ventilated, it adjusts in about every single way you could want it to. You got in under here, there's a fridge, which I'll add a video in because I've currently got all my camera stuff sitting in the way, but got a fridge in there, which is awesome. One thing I have added in is this little CarPlay screen here. Not a big deal, just something I added in. It's only off a Temu, cheap thing, but the radio's just like that, which nothing wrong with, but sitting in here 18 hours a day, I love having music playing. It's good to just be able to all control it from there without having to be on your phone. Probably the only thing I'd really add into it is a setup like that from the factory, which I think they have added now anyway, so that's an option you can get that I obviously didn't. Something else in the cab would be visibility. Visibility is absolutely brilliant. I love how the quarter post of your cab, that window's actually curved, so rather than being in the corner, it's pushed forward so you can see your whole boom. Easy as. You got really good view, you got a rear view camera up there. The camera screen itself could be improved on a little bit. I'm tossing up whether I tie that into the Gen 5 or not, but it works and it's fantastic for looking behind if you're driving down the road, whether you got cars behind you or not. Only thing I would change is I would get that screen integrated into that, which is, that screen is for your camera system, which I'm not using at the moment, but if they had that screen integrated into there out of the way, just because it does, between all the screens there, you do lose a bit of visibility. Not the end of the world. And if you didn't have cameras on your boom, that screen wouldn't be there anyway. So, but yeah, if I could change that, I'd probably get that integrated in. Everything else is pretty straightforward in the cab. Plenty of cup holders, plenty of charging spots for your phone, aircon's good. With filling, I am a big fan of this setup. It would have to be the easiest, straightforward system to set up and the fastest I've ever used. Plug in the screen, you know, how much you want to fill with. Normally it's 8,000 anyway, so you just hit go on it, and that'll manage the filling for you. And then while it's filling, you can go down and use your granny pot, which is laid out so easy, and yeah, get your filling done. I mean, I'm in and out within probably 15 minutes, which I think is pretty good from getting out of the cab, getting filled up, jumping back in the cab and leaving. That's just fantastic for efficiency. You're just so fast. And everything you can see from the ground, you can see your tank level, your rinse tank level, control every function from the hopper itself. While you're filling with water and using your granny hopper, everything runs off fresh water. So your granny pot vortex at the bottom, all that, your hose, it all runs off fresh water. So you can clean everything out. You don't have chemical stains everywhere. It's just a really clean way of using it, especially when you're flushing out drums and stuff. Being able to flush them out with fresh water while you're filling is fantastic. And then also being able to clean all your hoses, your Enviro coupler out, you can just do it all with fresh water while you're filling. There's no extra steps or nothing. Got a 2-stage setup so you can fill at a decent pace and gives you time to get all your chemical in. You're not really rushing to do it. And then once you got all your chem in, you can hit the play button again and actually go to what they call fast fill. And that just rams water and that just gets you filled right up. For the rest of the tank, it probably nearly, I don't know if it quite doubles it. I'll have to have a look at what I timed, but it'd be half as fast again, or a quarter as fast again, to just top your tank right up. But yeah, even just the base level speed's fast enough. If you're putting 4 or 5 products in, you can get them all in time, get everything flushed out, rinsed out, and by then it's ready to go. And having it on an auto shut off, you're not stressing that the tank's going to run over or overfill while you're mucking around doing things. You just let it go and you can, you know, mark out all your shuttles for the next fill or get all your chemical ready for the next one. So big fan of the filling setup. So that brings us on to the next category of folding. Hit your center mast up, get it up off your cradle, and then it's just one button. Hit it once and then hold it and the whole thing folds out. It unfolds super fast. It seems like a minor thing, but if you think of how many times you fold and unfold a machine in a day, let alone over the lifetime of owning it, being able to unfold it fast just adds on to that efficiency. You know, if you cut your fold down from, say, 5 minutes to 2 minutes, halve your time folding. Well, you know, you fold and unfold twice in a tank, you might get 6 tanks done in a day. There's 12 times you're unfolding just in one day. So if you save 2 minutes, there's 24 minutes you've saved for the day in just folding. And then you work that out over a week of spraying or a year of spraying. It adds up. So I'm a big fan of the fast fold system on this. Coming into our final category would be spraying, and that's probably the most important category. If you have a sprayer that can't spray well, you're probably in a bit of strife. So with the Agrifac, I'd have to say the spraying system is just so easy and straightforward. I'm a big fan of it. Everything's done from the screen, adjusting your auto height, adjusting your rates, your pressure, whether you're doing PWM or conventional, which I just run in PWM all the time anyway. But it's all right there at your fingertips. It's super easy. It's not trying to learn a different language on how to change stuff. I also love on it having the PWM system. The turn compensation's fantastic. That's been really good. Especially going around power poles, which is where I really wanted to see it in action. It just does an awesome job. It'll adjust automatically, seamlessly, speed up, slow down, shut off your individual sections as you need. It's a dream to use. Really can't fault it on anywhere. It's not complicated. You don't have hoses or leads running everywhere and anywhere. It's just basically a module controls 4 nozzles. I did have a few little dramas when we first got the machine with nozzles playing up. Got the modules changed out on them. There's just a few faulty ones, and it's just been working flawlessly since. So, and it's easy enough to understand that, you know, I can change a module out myself if I need. I've got spare ones in the sprayer. There's nothing that's gonna hold you up for a day of spraying if it plays up. You know, the John Deere screen works fantastic with the Agrifac screen. It all talks together. The weather station works amazing. It all syncs up to my op center. I can see everything, all the weather data, the spray data, you know, what the wind speed was when I was spraying that area. For record keeping, it's just a dream. Everything syncs straight op center, and then from op center it goes into my ag world. I just punch it in as an actual, and I've got all my data stored without having to write in a book and manually search up all the information. It just all automatic, seamless as, and having it in ag world and op center as well as on the screen means you've got 3 levels of backup. So if ag world goes down for some reason, I can go into my op center and it's all there as a backup. If op center goes down, it's all on the screen as another backup recorded in there. So yeah, it's fantastic. Another thing with spraying, the boom stability is just next level. It's fantastic with the auto height. It's got 8 sensors on it, and I'm yet to really see it hit the ground. The only issues I've had is if you've been up against a fence and you've got sort of a steep bank right at the end of it, going up to the fence line, then first closest to the fence, that sensor, because it averages it out over 8, I'd like that sensor to be more sensitive so that you're not hitting the ground on the tip, even if the middle comes up a little bit more than you'd like. Having it be able to do that would be good. And again, that's just software and tweaking, so something that hopefully I'll get sorted out further down the track. But yeah, the boom, you know, we're doing 25 Ks, 110 hectares an hour average, and the boom is just solid as. It doesn't sway around. It's not dancing up and around the air. One thing I have noticed with the height control on this being the setup that it is, I'd have to look up exactly what they call it, but you don't have, like on the Hardy's got the Norak with the dust cups where they're like a foam insert, and but especially behind the wheels, they'd pack with dust and dirt, and you'd have to clean them out every once a week if you're spraying in dusty conditions. This thing, you just don't have to touch it. It just stays clean all the time. And probably the performance above crop, for me personally, I found this to be a lot better, like staying to a set height above crop. The Norak sometimes would get a bit confused where it is relative from the ground to the crop, where having this on crop sensing, it's just flat as. It rides so nicely, so level. Knockbacks on the end are really good. It's got, which I think is aftermarket, but Agrifac offers it, is those end boom protectors are amazing. If you flick a fence, flick a power pole, which it happens, like everyone does it, trying to get up close to power poles and stuff, you can run along that guard and it'll just flip back and straight back out of the way again, and it's not harsh on the boom. I think the knockbacks are on like gas struts, and they not only do they fold back really well, but when they come back to center, they don't swing back like a spring. They sort of comes back a lot nicer, just a lot better on the boom. So yeah, from a spraying perspective, cannot fault it. Probably to add on to the spraying would be having the 4-wheel steer. I didn't think I'd use it that much, but you can really get your boom into corners. Like the back of the boom spray will essentially steer the opposite way to the front, so it'll really tuck the boom into corners. Say you're doing a fungicide or insecticide where you don't necessarily need to back right into all your corners. You can do it in all-wheel steer and it'll still get right to the edge of your crop, which I love. And then coming into your headland runs, having 4-wheel steer, you don't get really wide turning tracks between turning on your headland. It's just one wheel rut basically, because the back wheel follows the front wheel, which I'm a big fan of. And just manoeuvrability, you can turn it on a dime in and around the yard. Probably got a better turning circle than a Land Cruiser, I'd say, which isn't hard to beat, but for a machine this size, pretty good going. Decontamination and clean out. That's something that has made my life probably 10 times better with the sprayer. You do everything from the cab. You've got your rinse nozzles, your agitation, your boom clean out for your cleaning out your SSP or your PWM nozzles. You can empty the tank from here and you can flush everything out with rinse water from the screen too, which is just awesome. Anyone that's used a Hardy tug along, which I'm not bashing them because they are a great machine and they, you know, there's nothing wrong, but coming from that to this, where rather than having to get out and swing taps around to change from your main tank to your rinse tank, or from your spraying to your rinse nozzles in the tank, being able to do it all from the screen, it turns a 10-minute job that you probably get a bit lazy with between the end of the day to a 10-second job where finish your paddock, swap it over the rinse tank and just flush everything out. Super quick and easy. Any changes to the rinsing and clean out, it'd be good if it was all just one button where you just hit boom decontamination and it just did everything for you. Turned all the taps and switched everything, which again, it's a feature I think they're working on adding to this one. This is still early days for this series and model, I suppose, being one of the first of the lot really, but probably once we get to a bit later down the track and I do another review on it, I'll be able to touch back on all that, whether they added it and how that's changed or made it better. As for the configuration of the machine, am I a fan of, I guess, the body style, having the cab at the front of the machine, motor behind you, tank behind the motor, all the noises behind your head, not in front of you, and just the visibility pulling out onto the roads. The cab's the first thing to come out onto the road, so you can see, yep, there's cars coming, no, there's not any cars coming, trucks coming. Where with a tractor, especially if you had trees either side of the gates, visibility was a bit touch and go. Sometimes you'd have to really nose out carefully or just jump out of the cab, make sure there's nothing coming and then go. This thing just does that really well. You can lean nearly to the very forward of the glass and see what's coming at you, which I love. So that's a big yes for me. Fan of that. One thing I do notice, when you're swaying around a little bit, say like at the moment where it's a bit sticky on top or a bit greasy, your GPS might only be swaying 1 or 2 centimeters offline, but you could be swaying, that bit much more in the cab because it's over the front axle, so it's sort of accelerated. Like, yep, you might be swaying a little bit, but at the cab, you're really teetering left to right. Not a big deal, not that noticeable. And then also with the bumps up and down, I guess the cab travels further because it is teetering on the front of the axle, but I think that nearly makes it smoother to ride in because, a little bump gives the cab a lot more travel overall, I'm a fan. Some things that I dislike about it is judging where your front wheels are for staying in wheel tracks. Judging where those front wheels are, the cab has to go past the wheel mark so that your wheel lines up to it. That can be a bit of a pain sometimes, but that's just something to get used to. Road transportability of it, it is narrow on the road. It's as wide as a truck, if that. So, you know, you fit into the lane perfectly. If you got a car coming at you or a car wants to overtake, you can literally still fit in the lane and they can get around you fine, no worries. And then also not having to put the tractor on the 3 meters to spread in the same wheel marks has been great too. Big fan of that. And if we want to go to 3 meter centers down the line, you just punch in the screen 3 meters and you put this thing on the 3 meter wheel track as well anyway. So we got all the spraying finished now. Machine's all washed up, and I guess it's a good opportunity to give my final thoughts for the video and overall opinions on the machine. And I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 so far. Pending further investigation once we get a bit more hours in it. But overall, very happy. A few little bits and pieces that can be improved on. So I think that's just about going to wrap us up for the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.